Well, to get his take on the Trudeau blackface controversy and how it may play out at the ballot box, let's bring in Tony Chapman. He's a marketer and host of the podcast Chatter That Matters. Okay, let's talk about this in terms of the statement that was the apology, but also the reaction of those images. How does someone cope with that? How does someone show contrition for that? And how does someone move forward from those kinds of images?
Great question. I mean, is this a speed bump for Trudeau, or is this a derailment of his campaign? If this was a publicly traded company, shareholders, the board would demand a resignation. Not for what you did 20 years ago, but the sense that you're constantly peeling off a Band-Aid. And it seems like something's happening every day. And they'd say, look, we're going to put the interests of our customers, our employees, our shareholders ahead of a leader. And that's how it, but this is government. And elections work very differently. It's voters have to choose, and they get to choose every 4 years. So in this case, my belief is it's really not going to be as bad as people think, because ultimately, very few times in elections do we vote for personality, Obama, JFK, young Trudeau. More often than not, we vote personally. What's in it for me? And I think if Trudeau continues to be successful painting the seed of a conservative government, a Trump-alike or Ford-alike, I think ultimately when it comes to the ballot, people are going to say, I want to protect what I have today versus bringing in a government that might cut it.
So even though people are aghast at the behavior, unbelievable, how could he have done this? What was going through his head? The pathology of doing it at least 3 times, all of that, you're saying that people of all races might be prepared to put that aside because of the political reality.
The trough of entitlement. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a psychologist from years ago, brilliant guy. 2 things are the basis of our psychology. One is safety and security. I want to protect what I have. And the second stage is love and belonging. Who do I feel I belong with? So there's no question his currency as a leader is being absolutely battered, the level of trust. But when it comes down to, is my health care safe? Is my pension safe? So if Trudeau's got to shift gears, he had 2 things he was playing. One, he was tackling the integrity of the other leaders. He can't play that card anymore. But if he continues to go after, do you feel like you're going to, if you bring a conservative in, do you see what happened in Ontario? See what's going on with populism around the world? He's going to seed that insecurity. What Scheer's got to do is he's got to counter by saying, and he's got to stop attacking Trudeau. We know about Trudeau. He's got to say, do you feel any better? John, do you feel better about where you are right now? Do you feel your job is as safe as it was 4 years ago? Do you think your kids have got a better shot? And have people kind of really stop for a moment and again become personal. And that's the trouble with the Conservatives, is they always want to go after the leader, where I think they got to go after, how do I feel? Am I on shifting sand or am I on a solid footing? And that's ultimately what this election will be decided on, how I feel when I stick my ballot in that trough of entitlement.
I see what you're saying from a marketing point of view and from an electoral and a ballot box and a public opinion point of view. What are the concerns from a larger societal point of view that we are going to miss out on the larger discussions that need to take place because there's this attempt to move on? Because, as you say, the voters are bringing more day-to-day concerns rather than having big issues about, big discussions about racism in our society.
This whole sense of democracy is now fought, like I call it National Enquirer. It's what mud can I dig up? But the difference that we're seeing this year, we're only beginning to experience it. It's no longer mass media. I'm no longer stretching in a big slogan and 30-second TV ad. I'm fly fishing into your social media feed based on who you are. They know you have young kids, and they'll talk about your kid's future. They know that you've got an aging parent, and they'll talk about waiting times in hospitals. So we're seeding this fear, and we're starting to be really nervous about who we are, versus a leader coming up and saying, this is Canada. This is the greatest country in the world. It's got fresh water. It's got energy. It's got a diverse and educated population. Let's do something with it. But again, that's big policy, and the average voter, they're more concerned about how do I feel and what's in it for me in the next 4 years. And that's why we forgive so many mistakes. That's why democracies run so differently nowadays. And again, because of the fly fishing, we're going to see more and more nastiness because it's my sore they're poking at, as opposed to being the big issue of healthcare in general for Canada. No, it's my 82-year-old mother that they're talking to me about, and I'm going, wow, I didn't even think about that. And that's the sad state of politics nowadays.
So even in the 24 hours after the admission that that was him in those pictures and that video, do you think it is working in terms of his approach and his attempts to move on?
You can't move on from this, but even though it's 20 years old, and a lot of people in the street are saying, look, we all did stupid things when we were young, I think it's less to do about that, and it's a constant since he's been in office, time after time, he's been a hypocrite. You know, he says one thing and is proven otherwise. So that you can't recover from. And I think if the Liberals are smart, they're going to stop focusing on individual versus individual and the personalities lead. He won with his personality. He's not going to win this year with his personality, and get personal. And I think if they do that, if I was running the Liberal campaign or the Conservative campaign, I'd say, let this stuff just find its way. Wherever it settles, it will find, the froth will come out, and get back to focusing on what's going to win that ballot and that vote. And the sad thing about it, again, it's more poking fingers and sores than it is positive policy that can kind of rally a nation. And at the end of this election, our country's divided. We're just like the States. We're going to be the Republicans and Democrats. Up here, it's going to be the East versus the West. If the Liberals win, if the Conservatives win, we're creating this sense of divided state, which is completely opposite of what the brilliance of this country was built on, which is we are the true North, strong and free. We're losing that we are the North. We have it in basketball, but sadly, we're not having it in our policy in our country.
Okay, a lot of Canadians having a lot of discussions prompted this week. Tony, thanks for joining the conversation. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me in.
And thanks for coming in.